Hi, welcome to the Stockinit Zombies. I'm Amy, also known as Jane Itma.
And I'm Megan, also known as Just Run It. And this is the Stockinit Zombies. Episode 31.
Yep.
Memorial Day weekend has come, as did the summer weather briefly.
Yeah. It got kind of cold again.
It was 90 degrees 2 days ago, and now it's like in the 60s as a high.
Just tomorrow's the 50s, 50 something as the high.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Have to remember to bring a jacket, sweater tomorrow. Yeah, there we go.
Sweater. Yeah. We had a Memorial Day party at this very locale, and we had such notable attendees as the very famous Jane Itma, Christina Nitz, who is featured on the Jordana Page blog.
Oh.
They interviewed her, and she had her knitting bag and pictures of her son, and answered interview questions, and tucked inside her little Jordana, well, not little, but big Jordana Page bag, there peeked out a little Stockinit Zombies. Yeah, I didn't even notice it. Lois of Knitting's My Bag.
Had to point it out.
She was like, I saw my handiwork hiding in there.
Cool.
Yeah. So yes, very famous. The Jennifer was here as well. So yes, it was a nice day though. It was kind of in between that 70s and 60s.
I might have to pick up my shrinky dinks.
Yeah. Yeah. They made shrinky dinks, and then you guys hightailed it out of here before. I think the Jennifer's daughter painstakingly went through and picked hers out. Like, she didn't want any that the little girls had colored. So,
well,
Jennifer was like, if your daughter thinks she's missing one, it's because my daughter claimed it as her own. So.
Yeah, I got the sense that when Dexter started coloring one, that was not okay.
Yeah. It's like, oh, we don't want that one. Yeah.
But we corrected. He got his coloring book, and he didn't complain at all.
Well, he's got an older sister, so it like breaks my heart. I drop him off at school, and he insists on having, we call it daycare school, because it's like paying for college. It's so expensive. And he insists on bringing a baby doll with him. And like the other little boys in his class, they're a little older, are like, he's like a girl. He wants a baby doll. And I'm like, you leave my son alone. He can play with baby dolls if he wants to. So, yeah. That was my surprise on Monday. Whenever you ask my son how old he is, he always says 6, because that's how old my daughter's going to be.
Okay.
So that's kind of like his random number generator. If you ask him a number, he says 6. So we had 6 chairs out, and I went, Dexter, how many chairs do we have out? And he counted them. He went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I was like, so I was thinking I was giving him an alley-oop, right? And instead, he actually showed me up. Mom, I can count to 6, woman. So, yeah, that was funny to me. But you guys went out on a boat. Was that fun?
Yes. It seemed short, because, you get all packed up, you drive there, and then you spend probably under an hour on the boat.
Yeah,
and then
for all of the journey that you took to get there.
But it was exciting. I mean, the kids just absolutely love it. And the kids got to actually drive the boat.
Mm.
Oh, my Lord.
They are seamen. Sea pilots.
Sea pilots, yeah.
I don't know what you call them. Captains?
Captains.
Boat captains?
So, they had, the adults were in charge of the throttle. So they couldn't go very fast. But they got to drive it wherever they wanted. So the boats are designed for oversteering. Like, cars aren't really designed for oversteering. You don't want to do that. So the boats, it's like they turn it a little bit and it wouldn't move.
Yeah.
And so it's like, no, you have to crank it around at least 360 to get turned.
Like in a car, a little goes a long ways, but in a boat, a lot goes a little ways, huh?
Exactly.
Okay.
And so, just like, I want to go that way. And it's like, it took him 2 full rotations, of the wheel to be able to turn from one side to the other. Anyway, Connor had the hang of it. His little friend, whose dad owns the boat, he had the hang of it. Like, he was, like, steering us in circles and,
Yeah.
and back and forth, like, little, like, snakes.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody got to drive the boat, and the girls were completely uninterested.
Yeah.
They got up there for a few seconds. They made it turn, and then they were like, "I'm done now, Daddy." But
I'm doing this for you. You know, like,
they were definitely the ones egging the speed on, though. The girls, they were like, "Faster, Daddy, faster!" Like, hitting the windshield of the boat because they're in the front.
yeah.
And like, faster! Like, whoa!
I want the wind in my hair.
We were already going fast enough.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
But it was just so cute because they were the speed demons. They wanted the thrills. The boys were having more fun driving, and we had decided it was too cold, so we didn't pack suits or anything. We're like, nope, we're staying in the boat.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun, and yeah.
Well, I hope everybody else out there had a healthy and happy and safe holiday weekend. I know I have our neighbor works in the emergency department, and she's just like, it's always nuts during a holiday weekend. And I'm like, I know. People are doing things they don't normally do, and so I hope everybody was safe. I had like notes to myself because I wanted to remember all the things we want to talk about. Let's do we asked and we received 1,000. We are over 1,000 now. So
Yay.
We needed like 4, and now we're at like 1,025.
Okay.
Like whoop.
Yeah.
Like, we asked, and a lot of people came out of the woodwork. So yay, we are 1,000 members strong. Woo. I know we said if we got to 1,000, we were actually going to do full body like stand-up dancing. Might have to do that in like a paced intake or something.
Yeah, we have to because the camera's set up really close, and if I got up and danced right now, it'd be all crotch shot, I think.
Or butt. Yeah. Depending on it, yeah. But trust me, this is better for you.
Well, yeah.
You don't really want to see our midsections only. It's really a full body or half body experience, not upper half, right? Yeah. Upper half. So we are going to start a thread for, we've got a fabulous t-shirt, and this is a small, but we have from small all the way up to 2XL. So you would be the first person receiving this, the person that wins from that thread. So you'd get your choice.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be like, oh, if I'm an extra large, that one's already taken. I can't, you know.
Yeah.
So
this one is up for grabs for anybody.
Yeah, and we have a Knitting's My Bag custom Stockinette Zombie bag that we did. And then we decided that we were going to do some just from the member list today, right?
Right. So this is, you didn't even have to sign up. This was just in the member list. If you're there, you're getting rewarded.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and then we figured we'd do individual sign-ups for the bag and the shirt, because if you already have a bag or a shirt.
Yep.
Because there are like a very few, very, very, very few other people who have them. Like myself.
Don't sign up, Amy.
Okay.
So we are 1 and 2. So we're going to do it by member number. And they're going to be contacting you, right?
Yep. I'm buying the patterns this time. Please stay around $5 and anything that can be gifted through Ravelry.
Yep. And what was I going to mention? I forgot. Oh, so people that are actively involved in the podcast and are out, watching close to weekly, maybe you watch 2 or 3 weeks and you get caught up. Are we going to have that thread open for like 2 weeks?
Sure.
And then, so you actually get 2 entries really, because you're entered already in this, and then you're actively involved in the podcast. So you're going to go out and sign up for the thread, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. So, my huge number generator is somewhere in here, and I put Amy and I are 1 and 2. This isn't the number. This is just the one that was on the screen, and then 1,000. 25. So hit generate.
Whoa.
1016.
One from this last week.
Yes. So let's go out and look. My keyboard's throwing me off. Let's turn it off. Silly keyboard. 1016. Come on, you silly thing. Doesn't like my fingers tonight. 1000.
Are they sweaty?
No, I don't think so. Goodness, off the bottom. 1016 is Crafty Princess, Tammy.
Tammy the Crafty Princess?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Contact Jane Itma.
Yes.
Say, you owe me a pattern.
Mm-hmm. Did we want to do more than one or just one?
We can do another one.
Okay. And number generator. All right. Whoop. So let's hope for a small number for our new folks.
Yeah. Small enough.
816. So 8.
Sorry.
Lamb chop 00 Heather. So again, contact her.
Lamb chop 00.
Yep. And there we go. And I'll open those threads tomorrow as soon as I get the podcast out there. I'm sure I could probably put them out there now and people would sign up that are actively involved in the community.
Is this true?
Yeah. Other shout outs. We had Melissa M. Ski Knits contact us this past weekend, and I think we both said that we, after reading her story, kind of
teared up a little.
Yeah, teared up a little bit because I don't know. I guess I could relate. I mean, she sounds like she was a very prolific knitter, right? Like she was a knitter with a capital K. Like I would consider like you or I, right? Like did something every single day, and that got taken away from her. And I just can't even imagine my life without knitting. So she took a hiatus, and I think I would, it would affect me to my core. To there would be things that you would need to take care of that had nothing to do with your hobby, right? If you so she's the same. I'm sorry, she
Jumping
knows it.
ahead.
Yep, and I know, but you might not know. So she's a single-handed knitter. That had an accident and impaired a muscle group. I guess she's left-handed, and it hit her on her left side. A coconut fell and hit her. So she's learning how to knit single-handed. And she just put out another episode. The first one was kind of quiet, and the second one, she's outside, and I guess her husband bought her a new camera, and so it's really good quality and really good sound. She mentioned, and this made me smile from ear to ear because I was like, why didn't I think to ask that question? She said she has all kinds of questions, but the question that was her favorite that made her smile was somebody contacted her and said, what are you going to name your podcast when you're fully recovered?
Perfect.
Isn't that sweet? I was like, oh, knitters are such wonderful people to think to ask that question, and because we're cheering her on. We want her to get back to where she's
full function
and is knitting as she wants to be. So, and it's a wonderful podcast. I can see where it's just going to be fun to watch her journey, right? I mean, whereas we just kind of sit around and chit chat about silly things like our families driving boats and my son counting chairs, she actually has big perseverance type stories going on in her every day. So I'm watching and cheering Melissa. And her name is Melissa, which is very near and dear to my heart because my sister's name was Melissa. So
I was thinking that I had seen part of the second episode. Must have didn't put her on a blog roll yet.
Yeah. Well, it just came out today.
Okay.
You're okay. I sat in my office and did a lot of things today with that as a backdrop. So then I was telling Amy too, I was watching Dramatic Knits today, and Steve is constantly out there using hoe. Steve of Dramatic Knits.
Yes.
So he's out on Plurk. He's like, hoe, I has a hoe, and on the bag on the show he's like, see, my brain got a little ahead of myself. On the show he's talking about a hoe and whatever, and so I'm sitting there and I'm like, because we've been talking with Shannon Wee Sparrow about getting our hoe bags. That's a good looking hoe on a drawstring bag, and those are going to be out there for pre-order here pretty soon. We're still working with her. Yeah.
Yes.
But I'm like, in my head, as I'm listening to him talk about hose, I'm like, God, Steve needs a hoe bag real bad. And I was like, that was funny. Because Steve is very openly gay. You know, he's got a leaning man, and here I'm saying he needs a hoe bag. But I guess you could have hoe bag man.
Right,
I
but
was
he's
thinking-
got a significant other. Though.
I know,
Need
but
a
he needs a hoe bag real bad. So,
yeah, and I remember him saying he doesn't use bags much because they're not as manly. And I had made him one for the swap that was a little bit more manly colors. But that, and he might not knit on the go as much. But I think he would make an exception for a whole bag.
yeah. So maybe we'll have some by the time where Amy's at SSK, Steve, so that you can have yourself a hoe bag.
Maybe.
That, and you've got his address, right, from the swap, so we can send
Yes.
it his way if it came
Somewhere.
afterwards. Yeah.
Somewhere in my personal messaging.
Yep.
But, yeah. So, faux, or we got more to go?
No, that's it, dude. I think so.
You mentioned, what's the one on the bottom?
That was just like if we had extra time. We had been commenting that things were getting long-winded in the podcasting world lately, so we're gonna try to be brief today.
That, and it saves us time, too.
Yeah, and then I can convert in a higher quality, so you can actually like see things like our facial expressions and the color of our yarn.
Oh, God.
I don't know. It just seems like the longer we go, I have to keep it under a gig. I have to decrease the quality, and then like last week, I'm like showing my thing, and you couldn't see the colors at all.
Okay.
So we'll see.
So this is my back to school vest. Trying it on for y'all. So I like it. It seemed like a fairly quick knit once I got going. And yeah. That's all
Did
I
you
got to
do
say.
the darting at the same place that it said to?
Yeah.
I think I did mine. I don't know that I changed it a little bit. Like I modified it for me because I needed it to decrease a lot more for me, or increase less and decrease down. So,
But that was that.
beautiful. So that's the back to school vest.
Yep. And this is Dream in Color Classy in the Cinnamon Girl colorway. So that's 1FO.
She finished it.
Yay. And socks. So these are going to be my entry for the SSK Knit Along Challenge with the Leslie pattern. And so you can wear them this way. You can wear them this way. I wear them this way.
I noticed that you still got a picture.
Yes,
even
my
though you
close
didn't
up.
have even though you didn't have the correct heel.
Yes.
You were speculating.
Well, I think she had just shown the pro bumps like this. But yes, I'm in the download. Yay! My socks are in the download. Woohoo! So yeah, I'm excited that they're done. They had some fun flash striping pooling going on.
Symmetrical. Well, not symmetrical, but like
very
in the same order.
matchy-matchy. Yeah. Very matchy-matchy. And yeah, I need to get them photoed and put out there. And same with the sweater. Like, I'm behind on my photographs. They still say whips, and they're not.
Your Ravelry updating is abysmal, Amy.
I usually do it in the morning. I like put stuff on and take pictures and then send it off to my Flickr account, and then after all of that I update Ravelry like later on throughout the day when I can. So that's it. 2
Only, huh?
But that's like Fast and the Furious for a while. I actually have a third one, but
I'm like totally jealous of all the school teacher podcasters that are like, oh, I'm just going to be knitting this summer.
Oh,
Like,
that's right. There's so many of them.
well, not so many,
Well,
but
yeah.
like Laura
Enough.
and Steve and is there anybody else? Yeah.
This is my other FO, but I don't have it in a nice little skein to show you. So
She
next
left
week,
her nitty naughty here.
Yeah, I did.
Her DIY, her do it yourself.
Yeah, my nitty naughty was here, but I'm gonna take it home and I'm gonna get this taken off and then bathed and thwacked. I can see some places where it's underspun plied, whatever.
Is that your stuff that felt kind of squeaky?
Yeah, this is the squeaky stuff. It didn't feel the greatest. It feels fine on there now. But, and I did have, like a learning curve with every new fiber. And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I should just spin with the same fiber for a while. Like pick a fiber and go for a while so that I don't have all of this starting over again feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I thought it was fun. And it's done. And new stuff will go on after I practice some chain plying with the leftovers. I have some leftovers that I'm gonna practice chain plying with. Seems to be the thing to do. It's what the cool kids are doing.
So how many ounces was that?
It was a 4-ounce braid, and yeah, we'll see how many yards I get once I've taken it off and put it on the nitty naughty. But yeah, it's kind of full.
Mm-hmm.
It's thick-ish yarn. Chunky. Go with chunky. It's definitely bigger than worsted.
Have you done your wraps per inch?
No, I haven't done my wraps per inch. Again, kind of threw the bobbin in the thing and wasn't really planning on talking about it, so I don't know.
You did anyway.
Yep. Well, it was an FO when it was sitting there. But I'll show you when it's all pretty and skeined and thwacked and bathed and all that good stuff.
All right, I have a finished object,
Yes,
and I
the
would
sweater.
be wearing it, except it's still kind of damp.
Ooh, I can smell it.
Yeah, it's kind of woolly wonderfulness. So this is the February, I don't think it's February ladies. I think she says
February pullover.
February fitted pullover.
Oh, okay.
That's what I think they would, I can't even think of her name.
Elizabeth Zimmerman? Or?
No, the lady who modified it. Amy Herzog.
Okay.
Named it. And this is the Treetops colorway. Somebody out on the Madeline Tosh board was like, oh, I love that colorway. It looks really similar to Envy, which was what I got my Tosh Chunky in. So I might hold it up and compare for her what they are. But you couldn't see it real well, and in the pictures, cameras just aren't equipped for dark colors.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever noticed that? And like the patterns that that folded that I did, it has really dark yarn in the photos, and you can't see the design details very well. I mean, I love dark in real life garments that have dark yarn, but photographs just don't do real well with it. Either it gets real washed out because it's trying to like photo correct for it, or you just can't see anything. So I had my husband take like a bajillion photos of me in it, and when you're wearing a white shirt underneath it, this pops a little bit more. Has a little bit more belling than I would like, but I got past the first set of waist decreases and it was still real big on me. So I did another set of decreases and never increased back up.
Okay.
And then I was going to show folks because I thought this was interesting.
That's it.
That is all that was left. I've had long tail cast-ons that have had longer extras than this. So I got to the end of this sleeve. I think it was this sleeve. I can't remember now. I've woven my ends in too well. And like, basically I was like starting to go, okay, if I cut off this tail, I could, my alternative would have been ripping out the other one and making it even, right?
Yeah.
But, so cutting it as close as I've ever gotten, I think this is the least amount of yarn in the actual skein that I've ended up with. So, and it was worsted, now that I'm working with the sport, like worsted was like flying on the needles, and very thick and quick and, Madeline Tosh May is officially over for me.
Good.
And it got, I mean, this was 700 and some yards. My folded was 800. So I got 1,500 yards of Madeline. No, and then my
Color affection.
my color affection, if I take like 1,200 yards and half it, right? I think it was a little bit more than half. My weights, that would be 600. So 600 plus 700 plus 800 is 600, 700 is 1,300.
2,100.
Yeah, 2,100 yards of Madeline Tosh out of my stash.
Woohoo!
I knows, right? So, and the sad thing is, I still have a ton more. But not sad. I'm happy. I'm going to take Katie Bell's advice and not feel bad that I'm knitting for myself, not feel bad that I'm buying yarn for myself. It's my hobby. I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So, but yes, I would recommend it. The only thing, and I think a lot of patterns do it, two things. I knit the sleeves top down, so I had to do some interesting, like, kind of gusseting things here because you bind off like 4 stitches and make like a tab here, and so I ended up picking those up flat and I worked a cap sleeve back and forth and then picking those up flat and basically ad-hocking a little gusset here to decrease down to the number of stitches, and it fits really nice through the arms. I don't think it looks weird. I mean, if you look at it now, you notice where the gusset is because I've told you, but if you didn't, you might not. So my other thing that I was going to say, other than the arms, completely left me. I say 2 things to remind myself that there's a second, but that doesn't guarantee I'm going to remember it.
Madeline Tosh.
Yep.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll remember after we're done recording.
Okay.
It's fine.
Sounds good.
I've had enough to say.
Okay. So my works in progress are nothing new, but maybe I haven't been working on them on the show yet. So this is the olive.
A Helga Eisiger pattern.
Yeah. And then, so it has to go to 6 inches from the cast on before I can take the sleeves out of the equation, which is the markers. So it's going to be a big jump in stitches, so hopefully that'll go well.
Because you don't really decrease, you just keep the same stitch count, right? I mean, it's just kind of a blousey fit on the top. Yep. So it's going to be really fun. Oh, I remember what I was going to say now.
Good bust knitting. That's it.
Okay. So, and it reminded me because Helga Eisiger is one of my favorite. I love the finished objects from those, but the patterns are kind of like, I think I've mentioned that before, you feel like you're decrypting them, right? They're kind of like, and do this for blah, 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 and you have to figure out what that means. And it was the same here, right? So it calls for decreases, and it's like, well, what do I do if I don't have enough stitches? You know, like you kind of have to intuit a little bit and figure it out versus, so it wouldn't be a good one for like somebody that was brand new and needed that guidance, right? To exactly what you were supposed to do. Not like, okay, once I have 7 stitches, I can start another repeat, or, you know.
Well, I mean, I will say that the original is very similar, so, I mean, and she might even put more detail in than Elizabeth Zimmerman did. So,
yeah. Because patterns back then were more recipes, right?
Yeah, and that one's like a paragraph. Like the entire sweater, it's like in a paragraph that's about this big. So, when I first knit that one, that was super intimidating. I was only doing the little baby one, so I was just like, I'll just do the little baby one, and oh my gosh, you know, it was just tons of figuring it out, right? Like, oh, what does she mean?
Tons of make it work, get Tim Gunn moments, right?
Yes, make it work. And then my other whip, I haven't really, I don't know, I might start a quick monster for myself just
to feel like you're making progress on something.
Well, I mean, I've been making monsters for the swap, but, you know, start another one, I guess. So here's a really dark, so you're not even going to be able to see it, But it's the Hex by Cookie A, and I really don't think you're going to be able to see it.
Who are those for?
My husband.
Okay. I was gonna say
And they've been cast on for many, 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 many moons. I probably finished 2 sets of socks for myself in the time that this has been sitting here. So I've decided to come back to it, and the pattern is actually really fun. So I'm like, oh, where have you been all, like, why have I been holding off on this? This is fun. So, Hex and the Hex sock. And then...
That was last year, one of last year's Cookie A.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was last year's patterns, yeah. And some stash yarn, Dream in Color. And yeah, and again, I'm gonna have like a bunch of secret knitting, because I don't want to spoil surprises for people. So my June's gonna be a whole bunch of like, and I'm knitting this, and then a bunch of stuff you can't see. So hopefully with this being my bust knitting, you'll actually see some progress on it, at least an inch or 2 here and there. Hopefully I'll have the sleeves divided next week. That'd be nice.
It's still just stocking.
Yeah. But less. I can make more progress on the bust.
One row gets you a little farther.
Yes.
I was talking to Karen Balky online today, and she was talking about she's knitting an abalone for R2 Ball KAL.
Okay.
And she was like, yeah, this is the really boring part. And I'm like, and you have reached the crux of my issue. Like, I enjoy the finished objects when they look it's beautiful. But like, this was so much more interesting to knit because it was actually a pattern and you're figuring out where you are and what row you're on. And it keeps your mind engaged a lot more than just like, right? So, yeah. If I had it to do all over again, I did my olive out of cheap, well, not cheap, but it's Cascade yarn, and so it's pilling and not the softest. And yeah, if you knit yourself a fingering weight jumper, don't do it out of cheap yarn. It's an investment. It's an investment of your time, so much time. So make it worth your while. Like, spend the money to.
I say that about everything in it. Yeah, life's too short for something you're not enjoying.
Yeah.
The few things that I have fought my way through to the end, I really don't enjoy the finished object at all.
Really?
I don't know. Like, my dress was a long haul, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Like, my Rusted Root sweater, I hated knitting that thing because of the yarn. And it was partly my fault. Like, I chose a yarn to get gauge. I was knitting it a little tighter than I should have. And, I mean, there was a folly of mistakes in that all around.
Mm-hmm.
But on top of everything else, I don't really like the finished garment. So it's like,
I agree. I mean, I have garments, like I knit something last year out of, for the Stash Dash, no less. So around this time of year, it is out of really cheap, like I bought it, I think I got it free when I ordered a bunch of yarn from Namai.com, which is a really good resource if you want some like middle of the ground yarn, middle tier yarn. It's not really expensive. It's not really cheap. I mean, they do sell cheap yarn, but you can find nice yarn there, like merinos. And my Rocky Coast cardigan is out of one of their fingering weight merinos, held double, and it's washed up nice and looks real nice and it's real soft. But I think in that order, I got some free, like, I think it has sparkle in it. And I'm just not a sparkle gal. I should have known. But it's just not, I will never wear it. I've never worn it once. Like, even to get a FO shot, I haven't even worn it. Like, wow. I took a picture of it on the table and it has sat in my closet. So if anybody wants, I can't remember what it's called, but you can have it. It's yours. It doesn't have sleeves on it because I couldn't get myself to finish the sleeves. But yes, so cheap yarn can ruin a project. But I don't think that I would have ventured to try to make the olive out of that cheap of yarn, I guess. I was just trying to get that yarn out of my stash.
And we will preface, there is plenty of cheap yarn that costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
So when we say cheap, it was not quality.
yeah, it has nothing to do with the amount out of your pocketbook.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. So, I mean, I think you can go out now and find very expensive yarn that isn't very, like I always make sure I go out on Ravelry and check
The
what other
reviews,
people
yeah.
have said, right? Like, this was not worth the money, or the dye doesn't hold, or it doesn't wash very well. And it seems like there's always, it's just like any podcast will tell you, there's always somebody that's going to have something to complain about. So we've probably in some way, shape, or form offended somebody, maybe just even by saying my.com has some cheap yarn, in this podcast. But I think by and large, you can tell, if there's a lot of projects that have been knit with it. And if you look at the project and it looks nice and the person says they enjoyed working with the yarn. And so anyway, I digress.
And there's plenty of people who wouldn't touch my wool mice with a 10-foot pole.
Even though it's very expensive. Yep.
And I like it, right? So it's an opinion thing.
Yep.
But
so, yeah, we said we were going to try to keep it short, and then I go on rants about
a little rant.
cheap /
life's too short to knit with crappy yarn.
Yep.
Do.
Although, knit with it and give it to somebody else, I guess. I don't know. If you enjoy the process. Are you a process knitter or are you a product knitter?
A little bit of both.
I am as well. It depends on the...
Well, a shawl is probably all process knitting because the end product is not something I use a lot.
Yeah. Yep.
But I love looking at them, so I suppose there's some sort of artistic factor in the finished object, but it's more that I enjoy knitting it than anything.
And I think I'm a product knitter by and large because I knit for myself. So I know I'm going to use the garment, right? And I can try it on myself as I'm knitting it, and I don't know. I enjoy the process of knitting, but I enjoy what I get out of the process of knitting a great deal as well. So yeah, maybe a little bit of both. Maybe heavier towards the product side.
Because I would think of a process knitter like as somebody who could knit an entire something, blanket, whatever, rip the thing out again, ball it up, and start over, and do that for until the yarn turns to crap. And then throws away, but what they end up doing is just knitting and giving it and knitting and giving it, knitting and giving it, just. I saw somebody the other day that was, and I apologize, I don't remember who it was, but they were selling their things out on Etsy for like super reasonable prices because they're just a process person. They're like, well, I knit this shawl and I'm not going to use it. I knit these socks, I'm not going to use it. I spun this yarn and I'm not going to use it, kind of thing. They just like the process. So they're selling it on Etsy just to fund their further yarn and knitting purchases, right? And I think that that's pretty neat.
Yeah. I am currently working, I'll get us on track here.
Yes.
On the, I don't have the big, cool glamour shot. I should have grabbed the magazine that, if I were thinking. The Cara Cara pullover by Amanda Bell. And I am doing it out of Lorna's Laces Sportsmate, which is, so this is another one where the review wasn't real wonderful of it. It has Outlast. I'm not going to go digging. It's like 80% merino, 20% Outlast. And the pattern calls for cotton. And I'm using this. It's like merino cotton. Yeah, cotton fleece. 80% cotton, 20% merino. Hey, buddy. And I got stitch gauge, but it's sport weight, and the pattern again calls for a cotton DK. So I was thinking I wasn't going to get row gauge, and I did get row gauge. So I'm like spot on somehow. In general, I guess I just think of like the yarn wrapping around the needle. It takes up less when it's a less thick yarn, right? But like width-wise, it's always the wrap around the needle width, right?
Well, yeah, but static cottons decay usually remind me of a fluffy sport weight wool, right?
Okay.
In the sense.
So then
that-
maybe my substitution makes sense, but I don't know if this is supposed to have negative or positive ease. I was gonna message her and ask, but I'm doing the hello fabulous, the 32-inch size, so that it'll have about no ease, no negative, no positive for me. And I'm just raglan top down, flying. Love my top downer.
Yeah.
Love the colorway. It's kind of,
doing good,
some blues and light blues and some dark blues.
but not pooling up or anything. It looks good.
No, and then you end up picking up some stitches and doing a like seed stitch cowl up here, and it's gonna have a
Kangaroo pocket.
a kangaroo pocket for me to stash my whatevers, money, cell phone. I'm gonna buy a new cell phone, by the way.
Good. Good Lord. She is so hard to get a hold of because she's got a crap cell phone.
Yeah, my husband's making me. Well, I have like a two-handed down cell phone.
Yeah.
Somebody gave it to my husband because they got a new phone, and then he got a new phone, and I got the old phone. So, I don't use it a great deal. So I'm not a texter. I'm not a whatever. So.
Yes, but when it can't even do the basic
Well,
function of using a phone.
My husband looked at it and he was like, what it's trying to do is connect to the Wi-Fi. And so whenever I turn it on, it's trying to connect to the Wi-Fi, and it can't do basic things like answer a ringing cell phone or, a call, incoming call, or make an external call. So, yep. Do you have any purchases this week? Acquisitions enabling?
No.
No. I'm just going to wear this like a beautiful necklace here.
Shocker.
Oh goodness, I almost lost the stitch. Stay on there. Okay. I held this off because they all ganged up on me, as I've mentioned in the past. And I didn't take it out. Max was like,
Super crinkles. Super crinkles.
I read somebody online, and one of the forums was like, I don't know why podcasters apologize for the crinkling. Everybody knows things crinkle. So this is Fiber Nymph, Lisa of Fiber Nymph Dye Works. I got 2 custom orders. I went out to the website and there was a custom order link, and I was like, oh, I'll grab 2 of these. So this is the Fiber Nymph Dye Works. This is her Heavenly base. And it's my greens gradient for me, so it goes from like a very springy green to a very dark fall-ish type green. And this is 400 yards, and I think it's going to be a scarf for somebody. I had something in mind, so I grabbed ya. And this is her sunshine base, so it's sport, and it's the storm warning gradient. And this is 800 yards, so I got her to do the gradient over 800 yards, and it's going to be again, I'll pause for laughter here, but a bottom up cardigan or pullover, because I want the heaviness to be at the bottom, and I want to be able to do the sleeves as long as I possibly can. So I could pull from the inside and start at the top, but then my sleeves would end up either being dark or whatever. So if I do it from the bottom up with the dark, I can get up here and then do the sleeves with the color that ended up here, right?
Yep.
Does that make sense? Or would it be better to do it from the top down with the light color first, and then just do the sleeves before I continue on down? I guess then there would be a very distinct line to the... Anyway, if you have any suggestions, we said we were going to try to be brief this week.
She keeps going on and on and on and on.
Max is like, what are you talking about, Mommy? Quit making me scared. So yes, thank you, Lisa, for working with me on this, and it's beautiful and wonderful, and this is going to become a garment soon. I don't know how soon the scarf is going to become real. And then I wanted to give a...
She got it then.
What? Yes, yep. So we are big fans of the Bacon Fairy. And so I wanted to give a shout out and a heads up and a thank you to Lois of Knitting's My Bag. I ordered some more custom fabric and she made some, look at the contrast color and the contrast color of the zipper. How awesome is she at choosing colors? She just has an eye for detail, I tell you. So thank you very much, Lois. These are fantabulous, and hopefully Bacon Fairy is enjoying. Amy's got one of these too, so we snagged because we're fans of you, Mandy.
And bacon, really.
Yeah, and fairies that deliver bacon, specifically at campsites. Again, thank you to Lois, and thank you for Mandy for being so involved in our podcast. But as I said, we are fans of you. And then Christina Knits gave us some Target puppies.
Yes, mine is at home with its new owner. I don't get to keep
it. Has it been claimed?
Yes, it has.
So, yeah. All kinds of wonderful gifts. Oop.
Yes.
And purchases and
we're squeaking real close to 50.
I know. I don't have anything more to say. I'm just going to sit here and be quiet, Amy. You can just say whatever you need to say.
Nothing. I was just going to say goodbye.
Okay. Well, you guys have a stellar week, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye, Ufta.